Good news. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are coming back next season, according to CEO Jed York. Everything is going great in Niner land. Just don't look at their record. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cohn Zone. We're the Cohns, Grant Cohn, Lowell Cohn. We're going to get into the report that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are coming back next season in a minute. But first, there's injury news. Brock Purdy left the game with a elbow contusion, is what Kyle Shanahan's calling it. He has nerve inflammation. He probably won't play Sunday against the Cardinals, but it's no big deal. And there's definitely no long-term implications. It's just he got knocked, and he probably won't play in this game. What do you think?
Well, if he's not 100% well, he shouldn't play in the game.
No.
If it's minor and he can throw and there's no risk of re-injuring himself, he should play in the game. That's what I think. So that's up to the coaches and the doctors.
Yeah, that's true. I guess this isn't it's a business calculation, but I'd be interested to know, would he lose more money by not playing in this final game or by playing and doing what he's been doing the last few weeks, or worse?
Well, okay, first, I don't care how much money he makes or doesn't make. It's nothing to me. If he plays and he plays well against Arizona, it could probably help his status. If he doesn't play, he is where he is right now, which is a quarterback who's had a very disappointing season. So sitting won't help him, except it might help him medically, but it won't help him for a contract sitting.
I think he felt that, and he has an obligation to play, but I think he felt that playing through whatever arm issues he's had the last couple of months would be better than not playing. And I think playing has been bad for him. Now, maybe he was going to play like this one way or another, but he's played really poorly, especially in the second half of these games. I think he's cost himself a lot of money.
Iggy, we don't know what his injury status is. We know he hurt his shoulder and he had to sit out a game, but he always says his shoulder's 100%.
Yeah.
So I have no way of contradicting that. I believe that his shoulder is 100%. I believe he hasn't played well, but no one's blaming it on the shoulder. It may come out later that it was about the shoulder, but as of now, I assume up until he got hurt last night, his shoulder was okay, and he was simply not playing very well.
Yeah, well, now it's not okay. His elbow's not okay, and Dad, he should not play in this final game. I mean, if he's 75% healthy, he should not play in a game that doesn't matter. Enough. That's how I feel.
Okay. I agree. If he's not 100% healthy, he should not play. It's not fair to him, and it's not fair to the team.
It's not helping him, and it's not helping the team.
No, but if it turns out he's healthy, that it was a minor thing, it was transitory, he's back, I think he should play. So I think we're agreeing. Mm-hmm. If he's not 100%, he shouldn't play. But if he's okay, if he can whip the ball and he has no pain, I think he should play the final game for the team, to show it matters to him, and to perhaps have a good game and increase his profile around the league.
Okay, let's go back before the game. Before we knew what was going to happen and how it was going to happen, apparently Tim Kawakami crossed paths with Jed York before the game on the field or in a tunnel, and asked Jed, is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, are they coming back next year? And Jed said, yes, they're coming back. And Tim said, can I write it? He said, write it. What do you think of Jed giving that vote of confidence in the midst of this season, which hasn't even ended yet?
Okay. There are two things about this. One is journalism and one is vote of confidence. So I want to talk about journalism. I don't know how Kawakami got that thing with Jed. Was it prearranged? Did he happen to be wandering around the tunnel and Jed came out? I don't know how it happened, nor did I read the article. The reason I didn't read the article is because Kawakami and that other guy write for the San Francisco Standard. And it has a paywall. You have to pay for it. Why would I pay for that?
Yeah.
I already pay for the San Francisco Chronicle, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and National Review, which I read every day. I didn't notice that this thing, when it didn't have a paywall, had anything else to add. Plus, it has a two-man sports section. So I haven't read the article because I don't want to pay for it. Now, I don't know. So I don't know what Kawakami asked him or how it went because I didn't read the article. But if York says we're bringing them, both of them back, the follow-up question immediately is why.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have asked. Oh, I'm bringing them back. Why? It's a fair question. I don't know if Kawakami asked that. I'm not saying he didn't because I haven't read the article. I'm saying I hope Kawakami did ask that. Let's move on. So he says they're coming back. What's the hurry? This guy is always in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
He
was in a hurry to hire Mike Singletary once upon a time.
Yeah, after the last game, he came out in a suit. Mike's showering a suit, and he hired that guy. I don't know. What's the hurry? He could have said to Tim, there's we're working things out internally. I haven't spoken to them, so I won't speak to the press. Or he could have declined the interview.
Yeah.
So what's his hurry? What I see, he's eager, apparently, from what I'm hearing, because I haven't read it, he's eager to bring these two guys back.
Yeah.
Okay. Iggy, counting the Super Bowl, what is the Niners' record in their last 17 games?
6-11.
Okay. You're eager to bring them back?
Yeah.
When you talked about negotiating contracts and putting a team together, which is theoretically Lynch's job, he flopped starting in OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
He did one of the worst jobs by a general manager than I can imagine. He not only he abetted chaos.
Mm-hmm.
He was the chaos king. He should have drawn several lines in the sand, and he didn't. So why would you be in a hurry to bring him back? Because here's what I want to say. Of course, it's Jed's prerogative to bring them back. He's paying him money and all of that, and he may very well believe in them. So this is the crux of the issue. Jed may be telling himself, this was just a doomed season. The guys held out. People got hurt. People got shot. I can't blame these guys. I'm bringing them back. Fine, that's your business. But I'll tell you something, Jed. You're going to have the same thing next season that you had this season. The only thing that'll be better, the degree of difficulty of the schedule won't be as severe. So they may win a few more games. But as currently constituted, this team with this general manager and this coach are no longer what you'd call cutting edge. They are falling behind the rest of the league. And next season will be maybe a little better than this, or maybe not, but it certainly will not be astonishing.
Yeah. And I just can't understand why the people in Santa Clara can't see that. Like, did they think last night was, I know he said this before last night happened. Maybe he watched the game against the Lions and had an epiphany. Like, no, this isn't going to get any better. But this is what the Niners do. They find ways to lose. They fall apart in the second half. They lose close games. They lose low-scoring games, high-scoring games. This team is going nowhere. I don't understand why he would be so proud and think that fans would be so happy to hear that kind of a declaration before another humiliation.
Yeah. I mean, what would again, if I were doing the interview, and I don't know what Kawakami did, he may have done everything correctly. I would say, why are you bringing them back? And my next question would be, what makes you optimistic? I mean, he's got a quarterback who is El Folderama in the second half. He's got a head coach who is El Folderama in the second half. He's got all these injuries, injured players. Who knows who Ayuk is going to be, or McCaffrey's going to be, or the left tackle's going to be when they come back? Who knows? What makes you optimistic? I mean, I would love, why are you bringing them back, and what makes you optimistic? Because I wouldn't bring them back.
Right.
I
But the
would be
problem is that
optimistic.
Tim Kawakami on Twitter is constantly tweeting that the Niners should bring Kyle Shanahan back and that it's ridiculous to even suggest that they should move on from him. And so what he was looking for was confirmation for his viewpoint. I'm guessing.
Again, I don't read him. I haven't talked to him in years. I don't read him. I don't know what's going on in his mind. I don't know what his point. In other words, he's a defender of
Big
Kyle
time,
Shanahan.
all the time on Twitter. It's ridiculous to consider. He talks about Kyle like he's Steve Kerr. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Steve Kerr isn't even Steve Kerr anymore.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, but Kyle, if you want to talk about the pantheon of coaches, Kyle was never in the league of Steve Kerr.
No, 4 rings, no rings.
Yeah, 4 rings, no rings. You know what? You could call Kyle no ring.
No ring. No ring, Kyle. I like that.
No ring, Kyle. No ring.
That's his name.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jed opens his mouth before the game, which is always, a harbinger of success. Then they have a really impressive first half and put their best foot forward and find a way once again to lose in embarrassing fashion. Why was last night's outcome obvious and to be expected?
Okay, well, let me tell you, I was alone. I was eating a can of Campbell's soup and having a little salad, and the Niners just got off to a rocket start. I mean, Detroit couldn't stop them. And by the way, Detroit has issues with their defense, and I think Minnesota's going to beat them next weekend. But anyway, and I'm thinking, wow, where did this come from? And then sense took over, as opposed to emotion. And I thought, no, they're going to lose. Even when they ended the first half ahead, they're going to lose because it's what they do. And I actually said to myself, they're going to lose, and Purdy's going to be implicated in the loss. He'll throw a pick. Little did I know he was going to throw 2 picks. He's going to throw the pick at exactly the worst time to kill you. And the thing is, I can't see the future. This was just based on past performance. It's what he does, and it's what Kyle does. So I thought, no, this is interesting for a half. Now watch what happens when we get into the later rounds, and the better fighter takes over.
It was funny. I don't know how you were confident. I wasn't. I was watching the Lions defense thinking this is a verschlunking defense. The Niners just might win this game, and everyone's going to say that they're back and they figured something out, and Brock's worth $60 million, and that anyone who suggested that Kyle should go or John should go was just reactionary, and you got to stay the course. And I was sitting there like, well, do I need this today? Do I freaking need this today of all days? And then I didn't even notice it because it was annoying me. And then Kyle calls 16 passes in a row, and it's like, oh, yeah, you do that every single time you have a lead in a big game. Like, it's what you do. You have a pattern, and like, I should have seen it. I should have seen it coming. You felt it.
Oh, listen, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry to say this. Their record is 6-10. That translate as losers. They're
losers.
I know they don't want to hear it, and a lot of fans don't want to hear it. When you're 6-10 and last in your division, the word for you is losers. And I felt losers lose. Losers lose. That even though Detroit didn't have a good defense, losers lose. And it's what they've perfected this season is losing.
There's a reason they call him No Ring Kyle. They've been calling him this for a long time. This is his official nickname. No Ring Kyle. He's No Ring Kyle for a reason.
Yeah, he's No Ring Kyle. He's absolutely not No Ring Kyle. And I have a feeling as long as he's in Santa Clara, he'll be No Ring Kyle. I do.
Yeah. And I think what was interesting about the way this collapse started is it started with the Brock Purdy interception. And then Jake Moody missed a field goal. And it's like, it's like in harmony. It's how It's just like, wow, they're hitting a really nice note in their collapse. And then Kyle Shanahan, of course, came in and made it 3-part harmony with his just ridiculous play calling. Oh, and Nick Sorensen was in there too. Can't forget him, just calling the same vanilla coverages no matter what the situation is.
You should have heard Dante Whitner after the game on Sorensen. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he said it's like a Dick and Jane defense. He said he was really showing nothing. So, that was quite an upgrade from Steve Wilkes to this guy. I want to come back to the 16 passes in a row.
Yeah.
It's like in the second half when he had a lead, Iggy. Mm-hmm. Didn't he have a lead at 8 points at halftime?
He was up 8 at halftime.
Yeah. You come out and you close out the game. You run the ball. Well, he didn't have this one. He didn't. You find a way to do it. Just like
when Brock Purdy threw his first pick, they were up 4.
And what I want to say is Miami didn't have a running game, and they threw all these screen passes and stuff. They got the ball out fast. He couldn't. He went to a passing game, and Whitner again. He's so bright. He said when you put Purdy in a position where he has to be a drop back passer, he makes mistakes. Well, if he knows it, how come the coach doesn't know it?
Yeah. And it's like some people try to give Kyle Shanahan the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, he's this diabolical, evil genius. He kind of really, he's trying to show the owners that Brock isn't the guy, and he's putting it in front of them. It's like, no, this is what he does no matter who his quarterback is. He could have Tom Brady. He could have Matt Ryan. He's going to throw too much in the second half of close games.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he has any animus toward Brock Purdy. I just think it had nothing to do with any plot. Yeah. He's just a crummy second half coach, and he has a choker for a quarterback in the second half. And I know these are very harsh words, but Purdy, before he got hurt, he choked in the second half. And I've seen him do it before. Iggy, you said he's never thrown a game-winning touchdown pass?
He has never thrown a game-winning touchdown pass.
Wow. I mean, even Jimmy did.
Yeah, let's talk about Brock Purdy's lack of clutchness. So he's led a couple drives at the end of games, that won games that ended with field goals or rushing touchdowns, but he has never thrown the touchdown pass that won the game. Jimmy Garoppolo did it. He threw to Dante Pettis to beat the Steelers. He threw to Jeff Wilson Jr. to beat the Cardinals, and he threw to Brandon Ayuk to beat the Bengals. Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't particularly clutch, but compared to Brock, he was. And I think we're seeing out now 3 seasons of Brock Purdy. He is not someone you have a lot of confidence in if the game is tight down the stretch.
I no longer do. It's interesting. Last season, I was enamored of Brock Purdy. He seems like such a decent kid. His story is storybook. And he does certain things very well. When, I guess, especially against zone coverage, he's very good over the middle of the field. But he's not as good at man-to-man coverage when the windows are not as big. And it doesn't help that Kyle never invests in the offensive line. So the guy's always in danger, and he can't make really precise throws. And that against man-to-man, and that kills him in the second half, Iggy. It does. It kills him. And then it always interests me in the post-game, he'll say, I threw a pick. I have to learn from that. I can learn from that. No, your learning phase is over. You're supposed to be the franchise quarterback. Learning was in college, and learning was in your rookie year or when you first took over. You're refining now. You're not learning. So if you still think of yourself as learning, you are not the guy.
Dad, this year he has 12 touchdown passes and 2 picks in the first half, and in the second half he has 8 touchdown passes and 10 picks. How could a guy be that good in the first half and that bad in the second half?
I think it's a collaboration, him and the coach.
I agree.
But he doesn't seem to handle pressure, Purdy, very well. Nor does the coach.
No.
Neither one seems to handle pressure very well.
I thought like maybe the most interesting moment from Brock last night, the interceptions were horrible, and we've talked about those, but in between them, sandwiched between, there was a possession that started where he gets sacked on 1st and 10. Not necessarily his fault. But then the very next play, 2nd and 15, he takes a delay of game penalty. And that to me is a quarterback who's rattled, who's not, the thing about Jimmy Garoppolo that kind of annoyed me sometimes, but was also maybe his best quality was how he would just move on to the next play. Bad play, interception. He almost had a smile on his face, and it was annoying sometimes, but it was his best quality. He actually could play well after making big mistakes. And Brock, I don't know that he can.
He seems sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, as
you,
someone who's sensitive, I see it in Brock. That's how I am.
Yeah, you would start crying on the field. Me too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They'd have to bring out Kleenex.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd have to be like, sweetie, you're still a good player. It's okay. True.
Like
True story.
I think Brett Favre, right? He could throw 5 picks in a row and he'd still be feeling good about him. Hey, that was a pretty good spiral.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hell of a throw.
I just went to the wrong guy, but what the?
Yeah.
And this kid, no, he's living both the next play and the last play at the same time.
Yeah. And I think early in his career, when he hadn't hurt his elbow, or when McCaffrey hadn't hurt his Achilles and the team was really rolling, they would put teams away early in the third quarter and they would just cruise the rest of the way. Now there's a really tight games with a lot of pressure on him. And not only do they have the pressure of winning a football game, but he has the pressure of proving that he's worth this huge extension, his biological clock, their lives. I mean, they got so much stuff piled on this season, and he's crumbling.
And Iggy, you raise a good point. The Niners are a team built to play from ahead.
Yeah.
They are not a team built to come back.
No.
Part of the issue is they're not that kind of team.
But Dad, if you're paying a quarterback a lot of money, forget 60, but 70, 50, 40, wouldn't you like wouldn't you like him to have the capability of bringing you back? Isn't that kind of what you're paying for? Hey, if we're down 14, the game's not over.
Right.
Yeah. But with Purdy, it's over. At least now it is.
Iggy, he could be ahead and it's over. And it's over.
It's true.
He was ahead last night.
He
could be ahead and it's over. He doesn't have to be behind and it's over.
Good point.
That's
a good point. Sir Cash Money says, "Hiya, Cohn. Sorry for being MIA for a while. I was dealing with a lawsuit that involved a pigeon, bus, and a spoon. Anyways, give me a summary of the state of the Niners since I've been MIA. I got tickets for the Cardinals game." Oh, everything's fine. Kyle and John are coming back. Didn't you hear? They're coming back. And Brock probably going to be sticking around for a long time too.
Yeah, with a lot of money. Everything's fine.
Yeah, they're just a few plays away from being in the playoffs. Bill Kennedy says, "Makes me think they will not play hardball with Purdy, Moody, etc. I was hoping the loss would bring about change. I predicted loss at half with coach."
Well, you were right.
You were right. Shady Luke says, "Purdy couldn't go back in because of a contusion." What? That's not bad, right? Or am I tripping, Grant?
I don't know, but he couldn't throw. He's a very earnest person. He couldn't throw. But I don't know what that means about tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, maybe tomorrow he can throw. We'll see.
Yeah. We're on Purdy watch. I'm back on Purdy watch, going to practice again. Kilo TW says, "Just want to point out that Kyle used Debo all wrong this season. Debo is more productive with his touches when he's in the red zone, and Kyle completely abandoned that this season until these last 2 games." Thank you, Kilo.
I don't care.
Dave Barclay says, "Missed beginning. Feel like I called all this 7-10. Oh, so they're winning next week with Josh Dobbs. Maybe Josh Dobbs will be their best quarterback yet." Neil says, "Happy New Year's and Happy Hanukkah, Papa Cohn and Grant. Out of all the players you've ever covered, which one was your favorites?"
You mean on the 49ers? I see. Me
sure, let's do 49ers.
Oh, gosh. Steve Young. Favorites meaning that I like the most, not that the best players. The old left tackle Keith Von Horst, who died a few years ago, was just an absolute wonderful person. I would say those two come to mind. Brent Jones, Russ Francis, who died, Charlie Young. I love Charlie Young. Such an interesting man. They
Joe
come
Staley.
to mind. Oh, gosh. Joe Staley, what a wonderful guy. What a truly wonderful guy. Yeah.
Jimmy Ward.
I don't know Jimmy Ward.
For me, but Jimmy Ward, George Kittle's been phenomenal. I really enjoy covering Brock Purdy. I like him a lot. Those guys.
And I'm probably missing a million people.
Yeah. Shady Luke says, I watched Jalen Hurts come back versus the Chiefs and Bills last year with a 30th ranked defense, and I don't want to hear excuses for Brock.
I don't like to hear any excuses.
Yeah. Todd Labor says, hi, Grant. Hi, Mr. Cohn. Happy New Year. Why did this Jed York guy want to bring back Kyle Shanahan? I don't understand, Jed. What's he on? Kyle has a big ego. I'm shocked he's still going to coach this team.
They have money invested in him, which they shouldn't have money invested in him. So I'm saying they'll bring him back next season, but they'll fire him after next season.
The young Montana's been a member for 40 months. Thank you very much. Jorgen, 1990, says, shouldn't Lynch be able to fire Kyle Shanahan hierarchically?
No, Shanahan hired him. It's a very strange relationship from the get-go.
It's a very strange relationship from the get-go. It certainly is. Okay, and now it's sleeper time.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Okay, Saturday night, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. Clash of the AFC North. This is you just throw out the records when these teams face each other. Russell Wilson. He's been struggling a little bit lately. 236 and a half passing yards. 236 and a half passing yards. What do you think? He hasn't hit that in weeks.
He won't make it.
He's fading, Dad. T. Higgins. Joe Burrow. How about Joe Burrow? 284 and a half. He went for 412 last week. They almost never run the ball.
Then I'll say more. By the way, Joe Burrow, what a quarterback, Iggy.
What a quarterback.
I mean, what a quarterback. He's playing, for a team that isn't really good and a coach who isn't really good. He's like Matthew Stafford when Stafford was in Detroit. These diamonds who
yes.
And
to me, he's a much better quarterback than Stafford.
I would agree. He's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. And he doesn't have to move too much. He's like the closest thing to the old style pocket quarterbacks, him and Goff. Yeah. All right, let's do T. Higgins, the receiver who went crazy last week. He had 3 touchdowns. Do you think he'll have any touchdowns in this game? T.
So the over-under is 0?
0.5.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, it's T. Higgins.
How do you have 0.5 touchdowns?
Well, if you have over-under, you got to have it at a half.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's a tie in there. You can't have that. Jamar Chase, the other wide receiver for the Bengals. Let's do yards. 93 and a half. He had 102 last week. They throw the ball around in Cincinnati.
I'm going to say under.
Because it's Pittsburgh. They're stingy.
They're a good defensive team, Iggy.
They are a good defensive team. All right, one more. Their running back, Najee Harris from the Bay Area. Will he score a touchdown? 0.5. Will he have half a touchdown in this game?
Yeah.
All right.
He's from Contra Costa, right?
Yeah, Antioch or something.
Antioch.
One of them. All right. Download the Sleeper app and get entered to win this signed George Kittle jersey. This one right here.
Where's the signature?
Promo code Cohn, COHN.
How did you get that jersey?
I bought it out of my own pocketbook. Because I'm generous. I'm a generous person. And I don't toot my own horn. I just do these things for people.
You are a generous person.
Thanks. Okay. We got to talk about this kicker, Jake Moody. Our heart goes out to him. Everyone wants him to do well. He's trying to do well. He means to do well. He's just not doing well. And it's been a pattern for a while. What do you think the Niners should do with him?
Well, I think in the conference call today, if I have it right, somebody asked, are they going to replace him for the final game? And Shanahan said, no, they're going to go with him for the final game. I disagree. This is a game they want to win. Mm-hmm. They wanted to win last night. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to end the season with a win. Well, you put your best people out there. That's why I say Purdy should play if he's well. They want to win the game. Mm-hmm. This kid is in a terrible slump right now. You sit him down. There are probably 30 guys sitting around in the country who can do a better job than he can right now, who can kick field goals, who can kick onside kicks, who can do, and they even had a guy earlier this season.
Onside kick, Dad.
Oh, it was
as bad or worse than his field goal misses.
It was a blasteroo.
He just kicked it out of bounds.
What? I know.
Yeah.
I know.
They don't have to cut him. If maybe they feel that they can salvage something next year, but you got to sit him down, make him inactive,
Yeah.
and bring in another kicker for the final game.
Absolutely. And it would be a statement to the team. It would be, look, we're going to try to get 7 wins. There'll be something in that. I'm with you. I want to win this game. You want to win this game. We're going to sit this kid down and bring somebody else in. And I'm doing it for all of us. And the kicker would understand. So when Kyle says he's not going to make any change, again, I think that's the wrong move. And I would go to say, far as say, dereliction of duty, Iggy. No, you bring in another kicker.
How do you sell your players on giving their best effort in the final game that doesn't mean anything to win it when the kicker could waste that effort by missing 7 points worth of kicks?
Yeah.
Even though he means really well.
He is a nice guy, means well, has nothing to do with it. You say you're still with the team. If we'll keep you around. We'll talk about next season when appropriate. But no, we're bringing in Joe Schmatz. He's going to kick this week, and we'll move on from there. I'd say that's move number one. The 2 key moves for this coming week are you get another kicker because this kid is in his head.
Yeah.
And you play Purdy or not play him based solely on health, not on contract, not on anything else, based solely on health. And that is something that can be determined with the coaches, the player, and the doctors. Those are the 2 big decisions. And the way Joshua Dobbs played, if he has to play, or if they don't let Purdy play, look, they could have this Brandon Allen. I mean, according to who knows who Kyle would start in the middle of the season when he had to have a substitute quarterback, he used Brandon Allen, who did nothing. At least Joshua Dobbs seems to have a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that he played Brandon Allen over Joshua Dobbs, the fact that he buried Jordan Mason for years, the fact that Ricky Pearsall just finally got an opportunity to make an impact and he was really good, and it took this long. I mean, this is a Jake Moody topic, but
now we can slide because it's really always a Kyle Shanahan topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of the 49er fans say, well, how'd you expect them to do better? That this guy was out and that guy was out. They had their first-round draft pick. And it turns out he's a very good player. He made a one-handed catch last night. And Kyle didn't know. He didn't play him. And they needed people.
Yeah. He wasn't in the progression. Dude, call the freaking play for him like you did last night.
Yeah. Then he suddenly got in the progression.
Put him first in the progression. 1, not 4.
Yeah. Where was he against the Rams?
When you needed him. He was there running routes, getting cardio. Man, he's in terrific shape.
I love, that they played well for the first half yesterday, and that gives people the idea, there's hope for next season.
Yeah.
Where was the judgment to have a game like this when it actually mattered? It's sort of a little easier when there's no pressure because it doesn't matter. And I love how you put yesterday, Purdy choked in a game that didn't matter.
Yeah, and so did Moody, and so did Kyle.
Yeah, I mean,
and what's interesting is we're so Deebo Samuel got in Moody's face, and there was a whole they got chippy. There was a fracas, but I mean, you kind of understand why the team would be frustrated with Jake Moody. I mean, no one else tried to punch him, but you could understand why they're frustrated with Moody. But to me, it's like, if they're frustrated with Moody, they're really frustrated again with Kyle. They just can't yell at Kyle. They can yell at Moody because Kyle picked him. Kyle defends him. Kyle won't cut him the way he would cut some other player who wasn't performing.
That's right.
Yeah, why is Moody above that? Anyone else would get benched.
Yeah. And he had plenty of opportunities in the middle of the season to get rid of him.
Yeah, Moody got hurt. That gave Kyle Shanahan the opportunity right there. We're not cutting him or benching him. He's just hurt. Oh, we got someone else. Oh, we're going to go with him the rest of the season. Funny. Jake, you're done.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
But no, they wanted to rush him back, and they're like, oh, you know what? He's not as good because he hurt his ankle. Oh. Well, then don't play him.
Then don't play him.
Don't play him.
Iggy, I'm telling you, we know maybe 10 to 15% of what goes on really at that team. There must be so many storylines about why he played Moody. You know what I mean? Why he continues to give the ball to Deebo Samuel. I don't know about those dynamics. It's really, really strange. All I know from coaches, it's like you're in, you're out, you play, you don't play. It's not negotiating with players or caring about their egos or even, get this, their feelings.
Yep.
I don't think Bill Walsh cared about players' feelings. He was ruthless. You're out.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking at Jake Moody's game log from this season. He missed one field goal week 3 in LA and a 3-point loss to the Rams. So that's a big one right there, right off the bat. Then he misses 3 field goals in a win against Tampa. Didn't cost him that game. Misses 2 field goals against Buffalo, but they lost by 25. But he missed a field goal in Miami. That was a close game in the fourth quarter. That was big. And then he missed 2 field goals last night. So in 3 close losses, he figured in prominently. There's a world where if they just have a decent kicker, they have Robbie Gould, those 3 losses are 3 wins, and the Niners are 9 and they're still not good, but they're 9 and what? 7 instead of 6 and 10.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Freaking kicker. It's the easiest position to find and replace.
Right. So I'm blaming Kyle for Moody more than I'm blaming Moody for Moody.
Moody, we don't blame Moody for Moody. Here's my issue with Moody. Kyle Shanahan, in one breath, will say, I don't like special teams. I don't know anything about special teams. Don't ask me about kicking. I don't know. I just tell him to make the kick. And the other breath, he'll be like, well, we got to stick by this kicker because he's really talented. And he's got, it's like, what is the talent that he possesses? I don't understand. Does he read defenses? Is he poised in the pocket? You either kick it far or you kick it accurately. And he can kick it far, but he can't kick it accurately. What talent is there other than those 2 things? I don't get it.
Don't you get the feeling that Kyle's a little confused?
Yeah.
I feel it's not gone the way he wanted. Again, Iggy, I've never met him. I've never looked him in the eye, but I feel he's a little all over the place.
Yeah.
I do. I think that he's suffering also. In that regard, I feel for him. He never saw this coming. And I think he's done a poor job, but I also think he's suffering. I do.
I think he's we can talk about the problem with the culture. Kyle Shanahan seems burnt out to me in the sense he's a grinder. He works really hard. I'm sure he stays up late. He's been doing it as a head coach here for 8 years. He came so close to the Super Bowl, didn't get it this year when McCaffrey went down. He probably knew he wasn't going to get it this year. And it just seems kind of worn out mentally.
That's what, I would say worn out better than burnt out. I think he means well. He wants to win. Yeah. He does want to win. I don't think he knows how to win, but he looks like a weary, worn out man. He looks like a guy who needs to take a year away.
I agree. And I think there's a look that someone gets when the things that used to work for them, that made them special, made them who they are, don't work anymore. And you start to lose confidence in yourself. Who am I? This stuff doesn't work anymore. It used to be so easy. Now I don't know what to do.
Well, I know what he should do. A really good coach would reinvent himself. The stuff that used to work doesn't work anymore. That's okay. I'm creative. I'll come up with new stuff. He doesn't, Iggy. He has a system. And he is a slave to the system. And he makes his players a slave to the system.
I also think what's interesting is that the system has problems, but the Niners' problems are so much bigger. His problems are so much bigger than the system. It's the culture. And I think what's so interesting about Harbaugh will go to a team, change the culture, win immediately. If Harbaugh was coaching this Niners team, they'd be in the playoffs.
I would have to say so. And he wouldn't talk about excuses. He had no patience for that. He would have gotten rid of the kicker with a smile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd have him in the playoffs. He would. You were, if you don't mind, I may be jumping ahead, but what Kittle and Bosa said about um, the Detroit
The
Lions
Lions.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I mean, the last few weeks we've been talking to the Niners, like, how do you motivate yourself down this stretch? And they're like, well, we're professional football players and you get 17 game checks and, this is a pretty good profession. And if you can't motivate yourself in this, you got a problem. But then they're looking at the Lions and like, the mentality of their coach, this is what Kittle and Bosa said, the mentality of their coach is just so infectious and you can see it rubs off on all their players. And they're such a well-coached team. And it really looks like he's a lot of fun to play for. It looks like that team is a lot of fun to play for. And it's really cool what they got going on over there. And it seemed to me like older players who've made a ton of money playing professional sports, who are having a really crappy year, not personally, but as a team, and are looking over across the field and recognizing what it used to feel like to have a lot of fun playing football and realizing, man, it hasn't felt like that in a while.
To have a lot of fun and expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
going somewhere. This season isn't even started yet for them. The playoffs are around the corner.
Yeah. And I think Sirianni and Philly must have the same effect as well.
And they believe in their head coach.
Yes. Now, I can't say the Niners don't believe in their head coach. I wonder if they do, but I don't know enough to say that they don't.
You can see the Lions believe in Campbell.
Yes, that I can see. I don't know about the Niners. I'm an agnostic as far as that's concerned, but clearly they believe in Campbell. And, I like Iggy. When his players make a nice play, he hugs them when they come off the field.
Yeah.
And he means it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny with, like, Bosa said after the game, he said, I really didn't play well again in Miami because it was my first game ever in the NFL where there was nothing at stake. And I just didn't motivate myself. And I had to, like, reset my mindset. It's like, well, maybe if you had a coach like Dan Campbell, he would have helped you with that. He would have made that easy. And I think that's what Dan Campbell can provide, what Nick Sirianni can provide, what Jim Harbaugh can provide. A lot of coaches have that element that Kyle doesn't. And if his offense isn't great, then the players have to do it on their own. And it seems like they didn't this year.
Iggy, have you ever seen Harbaugh go up and hug a player?
Absolutely, yes. I remember it right now. I remember first season with the Niners, they beat the Saints in the playoffs, and Vernon Davis makes that catch. We're talking about game-winning touchdown throws. Alex Smith throws one to Vernon Davis. He smashes into Roman Harper, catches the touchdown, holds on to it. Vernon had dropped a lot of passes in his career. He comes off the field crying. Harbaugh goes on him, giving this big bear hug. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Harbaugh's a very emotional person.
Okay, Kyle Shanahan, have you ever seen him hug a player? I've seen players hug him.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Saleh would hug players when he was on the Niners, right?
Yeah.
But I've never seen Kyle do it, and I'm not sure what it means. Some
Here's
people...
go ahead. Sorry.
Never mind.
No. Go ahead.
Some people don't like to be touched or to touch. Bill Walsh did not like people to touch him.
True.
So I'm not like that. I like to hug people. I'm very emotional. Again, I don't know Kyle, but he strikes me as someone who likes to have a tiny bit of non-physical distance.
Another thing that was kind of stood out about the culture of the Niners. So they lose this game. Afterward in the locker room, well, we heard what Bosa and Kittle said. They're sort of longing attitude about the Lions. But then you had Juwan Jennings, who has had a good season. He had a good game, and he had that moment early on where he, like, really embarrassed that defensive back for the Lions, where he just, like, blocked them off the field, and they got offsetting penalties. After the game, he's at his locker, and he's dressed in, like, this full Louis Vuitton outfit, really loud, probably very expensive. He got paid, and he's got these really nice glasses on, and he seems pleased with himself. And someone asked him about that play, and he says, that guy made a wish, and I granted it for him. And it seems like we've seen this a lot from this team. Like, they will talk trash about the opponent that just beat him. And it's like, are you celebrating some kind of like one-on-one personal battle victory? Because it's a team sport.
I know what you mean. Again, I don't know Jawan Jennings, and he's a hell of a player, Iggy. He's a 49er. He's everything you want. But my growing up in that 49ers locker room, I was a young man when I started. When you had a loss, no one was laughing. They were businesslike. They were taking their showers. They were getting dressed. They were putting away their stuff. They were talking to the media. They were available, but their tone was somber. We don't get to joke around. I don't get to celebrate the touchdown I scored because the 49ers lost. And my feeling was that Bill and George monitored that. And if they thought someone was enjoying himself after a loss, there would be a meeting the next day in his office. It's not appropriate. Loss in football, let's leave out baseball and others. There's only 17 games. Loss is very serious. A loss is very serious. It represents a high percentage of a season. Mm-hmm. There is no smiling. There is no kibitzing. Mm-hmm. You're getting dressed and you answer serious questions in a serious tone because you lost. And you respect the fact that you lost.
Yeah. And I don't think the Niners do. They've had this attitude that, they're better than their record. They've said it so many times. And I think that if they had finally pulled off this win over the Lions, which for a minute I thought they were going to, that they could tell themselves that. But instead they lose like they always do. They've lost now 6 of their last 7. And they still were, some of them were in the mode of like, well, we proved something tonight. No. You didn't. Well, you did.
Yeah, well, you did. You proved you could lose again. Right.
Yeah. All right. No, well, that's enough of that.
Hold on. There is nothing to take away from that game except they lost.
Yeah.
There is no silver lining. You could say, well, Purdy played very well in the first half, and he did. He was a pleasure to watch. He was the Purdy that we really have come to admire, but he gave it away in the second half. And I've said this to Iggy. A touchdown pass is less good than an interception is bad. Interceptions are way more bad than a TD pass is good. And he did 2 of them. They kill you. They kill you. Picks.
And say what you want about Jared Goff. No one considers him elite. I think a lot of Niner fans would kind of look down their noses at him or sneer at him, but he was not going to give that game away last night.
No. Iggy, they really wanted. They didn't even really need the game. They really wanted to win. And it might even have been foolhardy what they were doing. But their attitude is, we're going to come in here and kick your ass because we can kick your ass. And it's not because they got beat by the Niners last year in the playoffs. That may have been like 2%. It's, we're a team that kicks ass, and we're going to kick your ass. And you know what? I admire it.
Do you think the Lions would waste their time with a project or a head case like Jake Moody?
No, he would have been gone.
Yeah.
He would. Dan Campbell would be very polite and very firm. No, we need better than this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, they wouldn't be investing 3rd-round picks and kickers because they go for it on 4th down most of the time anyway.
Good point.
Which I love about them. All right, Dad. What?
Nothing.
No, you had something to say.
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Look, it's been a tough season. I think there's no more appropriate way to end it than with awards. Let's give out awards, end of the season awards to the 49ers. What do you say?
It's really not technically the end of the season, but it's been the end of the season. And it feels like a lot of fun. So tell me what the categories are and let's see what we can come up with.
Yes, forgive us for giving these away before the Niners have their epic showdown with the Cardinals this weekend. There could be some incredible performances. We're going to jump the gun. Forgive us. MVP. Why don't we start with that one? Most valuable player for the 49ers in 2024. Who was it?
Oh, George Kittle.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
He was their most consistent player. He was their best player. It was one of the best seasons of his career, if not his best season. 76 catches, 1,079 yards, 8 touchdowns. It's a hell of a year. And that's pretty much a normal George Kittle season.
He is the Niners have a wonderful tradition of tight ends, and he may be the best of all of them. Again, I've never met him, but I love to watch him play. He's a professional. He's decent. He's not a cheap player. He lays himself out on every play, and he's really, really, really good. And, I think he's a good teammate. I don't think he gets in people's faces, but I think he talks to people.
I agree. Did you see that he put his arm around Moody after the game and was talking to him on the field?
Iggy, that was really touching. And it would show the kind of person he is, as opposed to Deebo Samuel.
Oh, that's so interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Like what an obvious juxtaposition. Deebo yelled at him, taunted him, and then put his hands on the long snapper's neck. George Kittle just put his arm around him and talked to him.
Yeah, right. So again, I don't know what the guy's like. I don't know what he's like behind closed doors with his wife and all that. But from the behavior I've observed, he's a really good teammate. And from the play I've observed, what a player. I mean, he's an all-time 49er, not just this era. He's an all-time great on the 49ers.
Yeah, he, in a lot of ways, he's kind of like the reincarnation of Dwight Clark. They're both about 6'5". Dwight Clark had 48 touchdowns in his career. Kittle has 45 so far. I know they play different positions, but I think what's cool about Kittle too is that if he maintains this pace and has a couple more healthy seasons, he's going to pass Terrell Owens for second place on the Niners all-time receiving list next year or the year after, and it'll be him and Jerry Rice, 1 and 2.
Wow. Well, he's
pretty cool.
Okay, so he's the MVP.
Okay. Player we admire the most. Player we admire the most.
Okay, let me think a minute. I'm scanning. I'm scanning the team. On offense, is there any player I admire the most? No.
What about Jordan Mason?
I do admire him. Is he the one
Jordan
you admire?
Mason.
Is he the
Well,
one
he's
you
one
admire?
of them. He's one of them.
How about 54?
Absolutely. Fractured ankle, played through it. Yes.
Yeah. Fred Warner. Also, he strikes me as a good teammate. He's approachable. He's wonderfully articulate. He's a grown-up. He plays every down, and there are some players who don't. Is he a Hall of Famer? Maybe borderline, Iggy. And you made a good point. He's better when Greenlaw is there. But for me, the player on that team I admire the most is Fred Warner. And Jordan Mason, who got screwed by Shanahan. Mm-hmm. Screwed. He's like among the league leaders, and that now you can sit down. What a way to treat him.
Yeah.
He would be my number 2. Can you go along with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one more person, especially after last night, that I admire. Ricky Pearsall. What a freaking year for him.
Yeah.
I mean, from getting drafted first, all that skepticism coming from people like me, and he misses training camp. He gets shot. He comes back mid-season. They don't call plays for him. People are wondering, is he a bust? And it's like, no, I just haven't gotten my opportunity yet. And when I get it, watch what I'm going to freaking do. I admire him. He never complained. He didn't say anything. He didn't get bitter about people wondering if he's no good. People who have no idea what they're talking about. People like me. He's just really nice, happy guy, and was ready when he got the opportunity.
And Iggy, he's lighthearted.
Very lighthearted. He is lighthearted. And he's like, one thing I like about him, maybe he'll change, but he's a first-round pick. I think if he were a diva, he would have shown it by now. He is not a diva. He is very down to earth, which is kind of rare sometimes for wide receivers. And sometimes you even give him a pass for being divas. It's like it comes with the territory. He's not.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Okay. I got another one. Most improved player.
Okay. That's a good one. Most improved player. Oh, this could be wrong. I would have to at least put in the name of Jauan Jennings.
I would think so. Maybe he could have done this in the past if he'd gotten more opportunities, but when he got the opportunities this year, he was freaking ready for him, and he was their most consistent wide receiver all season.
He's a big-time player. And that's another example where Kyle has these players, but he doesn't use them. He's forced to use them because of what happens in real life, and it turns out the guy was great. So, yeah, again, I think who can you build around on this team? Certainly Jennings and Pearsall.
I mean, Jennings wasn't a starter. They were burying him at the beginning of the season. We were talking about what they could do to get him on the field more. He finally starts after Ike goes down. Now, with one game left, and he missed a couple games, he has 70 catches for 923 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he's 77 yards away from going over 1,000 this year. It's a hell of a freaking year for Jauan Jennings.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Last year, Dad, he had 19 catches.
Yeah, but he wasn't in the progression.
Exactly. That's why you got to remember that with players like Jordan Mason, Ricky Pearsall, Jauan Jennings. Oh, they're not on the field. They're not producing. Like, you can't say that's necessarily their fault. Brock Purdy wasn't on the field. He was behind Trey Lance. This is just how Kyle Shanahan does things.
On his roster.
Yeah. Remember when I asked Kyle Shanahan, hey, Kyle, how come Jordan Mason, he's averaging like more than 5 yards a carry, and Elijah Mitchell's averaging like less than 4? How come Jordan Mason's third on the depth chart? What'd he say?
Because he's third on the depth chart. Iggy, I think that's a direct quote.
They drafted a cornerback named Samuel Womack in the 5th round, I believe in 2021, did nothing with him. 2021 didn't play him. 2022 didn't play him. 2023 didn't play him. 2024 waive him after training camp. The Colts say, oh, claim him off of waivers. He plays for them. He's good. So there could be more players like this on the 49ers. Okay, last one. Biggest disappointment.
Oh, Iggy, this is so obvious. Okay? I mean, in the running for disappointment, I would have to say Brock Purdy. He's in the running. I'm sorry, Brock, but he's
also
not
Jake Moody. Although I don't know if anyone had high expectations for him. Other than Kyle.
and he's a kicker. You know.
Yeah, he's a kicker. Not really a football player.
Yeah, he's a kicker, but certainly Brock Purdy is in the running. Okay, and
Ayuk was in the running before he went down, but then he went down.
Okay, I would say Trent Williams is in the running. You don't want to criticize a guy for being hurt, and I'm not, but I'm saying I don't think he's durable anymore.
No,
I think, especially for what they're paying him, is a disappointment. But none of those hold a candle to who I'm going to say the most disappointing, irritating player this season on the 49ers, without a doubt, is Deebo Samuel.
Not even close.
Not even close. He is in a class by himself, Iggy.
Yeah.
He's like an overachiever in the disappointment category.
Yeah.
May I say some reasons I find him disappointing?
Oh my God, please.
Okay. First of all, he can't catch a ball. This is a wide receiver. And, they practice. They throw them when they practice. They even have those machines, that bang, bang, and in the key moments, they throw him a ball over the middle and it goes through his hands. And sometimes the other guy gets it from the other team.
Here's the thing, though. Before they get to the catch part, he can't get open. No, he can't beat man-to-man coverage. So if by some act of God, someone falls down and he finds himself open and the ball makes its way to him, he can't catch it.
Yes, it's a two-pronged process.
Yes.
It's a two-pronger.
Yes.
Okay. So
he's not good at his job.
Well, but we're not done with his job. Then there's the running back.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, Iggy, I've never seen a guy. Usually you tackle a running back and he goes down. This guy flops. He looks like a mackerel out of water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's flopping around. He's a horrible running back. Now, he's not supposed to be a running back, but I don't know. It's how the coach uses him or doesn't use him. So as a player, he's really declined.
Pretty good kick returner, though.
Yeah, he's very good. They pay him a lot to be a kick returner.
I mean, you can't put a price on special teams, Dad.
Okay. But that's not even the half of it. The rest is his attitude. And I want to say, earlier this season, he said, and this is not a quote, it's a paraphrase, but it's close. For X number of time, we've been the best team in the league. Didn't he say that, Iggy?
He said that right after they lost to Minnesota, I believe.
Yeah.
Right after they lost.
Okay. They got
the best team in the league for a while.
Yeah, best team in the league for a while. In a pig's eye.
Yeah.
So it means he's delusional about where his team stands. And then he actually said, we're better than our record. It was something along those lines, right, Iggy?
Yeah.
We're better than
our record.
We're
better than our record says. That was just a few weeks ago. We know that we're better than our record. And then, I mean, there was after the Chicago game, they won 38-13. That's their one win in the last 7 games. After that game, he had two catches for 22 yards in that game. He went on social media and complained about not getting the ball enough. The one win.
He did. He complained. This is a guy on a team that's not going to make the playoffs and is losing, and he's concerned that he's not getting the ball enough. So he's not only declined as a player, but he's selfish.
And also what we learned last night is he was getting the ball too much. Ricky Pearsall seriously should have been getting his targets, should have been starting for him, playing for him. Debo isn't a starting wide receiver anymore in the NFL. He's not a starting running back. He was getting the ball too much. That was the problem.
And the cherry on top is he attacked the long snapper.
Oh, yeah, he did that.
He attacked the long snapper. So I want to say
he ate the Oni.
So that was from a movie called Fatso, which is a really funny movie.
Yeah. It is in no way related to Deebo Samuel. Sorry about that.
No, it was just we had the line. Yeah. So anyway, Iggy, I would say he wins the Academy Award. You know, the Academy Award, you come out and you accept the award for disappointment.
Oh, Dad. So you know how they give awards, like the team awards, and it's like the Len Eshmon Award, the Bill Walsh Award. He should get the Terrell Owens Award. Although even Terrell Owens went on the radio this year and was like, what is Deebo doing? This is ridiculous. Remember that? He said it seems like Debo's more concerned with his outfit pregame than performing during the game. T.O. said that about him. Ooh, that hurts. And can I say something? Go back to the culture for a second. This team is so concerned with their pregame outfits before they lose. Isn't it humiliating to come to work dressed like that and then lose?
I don't know what they look like, Iggy. I've never seen.
I mean, it's like, we know that you have a lot of money, you've gotten paid, but here's the thing, Kyle. This is what Jim Harbaugh. I remember this when he got the job with the Niners. When he was trying to change the culture. You could say it was corny or whatever. He gave out blue collar T-shirts. Remember this? To all the players with the name tags on them, and they would go to games wearing that stuff because the idea is we're not celebrities, we're not rich, we're football players. We're football players. And I don't know. I think that's the kind of culture that the Lions have, that the Chargers have. The Niners are they're a bunch of famous players. They've been in a bunch of big games who think really highly of themselves and think that they've been the best team for a long time. And somehow they don't have to keep proving it.
They've proved it already.
Yeah, now they're like red carpet status. Like, no, you're not. You're freaking football. All these podcasts, no, you're not celebrities. You're football players.
And you're not very good at it anymore.
No one cares about the podcast of a 6-10 team.
Right. So I want to come back to Deebo. He wins the all-time award for disappointing players this season. I've had other disappointing players. And to tell you the truth, T.O. would have been one of them at certain points because of his attitude. Although T.O. was a far better player than Debo Samuel. T.O.
Yes.
was really gifted, no question. And maybe Debo had 1 or 2 seasons where he seemed really gifted, but Iggy, he's so on the decline. They have to get rid of him. They have to have to for his attitude and for how he plays.
How much confidence do you have that they'll get rid of him?
50-50. How about you?
Me too.
50-50.
I don't know. Now, the fact that they kind of muted him last night gives me hope.
If they open the season next season, game 1, and he's on the roster, I have to feel they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't understand. Bill Walsh would have gotten rid of this guy. He would have not been on the team this season. Not been on the team. Moody, not on the team. Juszczyk, not on the team. These people would not. And I'll tell you something else who might not be on the team. Trent Williams. He might not have brought him back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was ruthless. No. And they paid him a lot of money, and then he missed half the season.
Yeah, he was ruthless. Ask Charlie Young. Ask Russ Francis.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, are those all our awards?
Yeah, I have to say so.
I don't think Debo's going to want to answer your questions.
Oh
anymore.
No! I was working it out with him. I was this close. Jeff says, Cones, hope y'all doing good. Please check out Walter Nolan, defensive tackle. He might be first round pick this year. Number 1 in the country in high school, tearing it up at Ole Miss. All right, Walter Nolan. I'll get it. I'll look into him. It's mock draft season. Joshua Wyatt says, I severed a tendon when I was 16. My hand still goes numb if I hit it on the exact wrong spot. This is not a problem that ever goes away. Interesting. Ivan Tina says, quest for 6.
That's clever.
I liked it. The Poe says, hey, Papa Cohn, my wife got me gloves off for Christmas. Loving it so far. The Bill Walsh stories made me emotional, and the story of Dusty's sex drive cracked me up. Happy New Year.
Oh, that's so sweet. You made my day. Thank you.
Giovanni Miller says, your opinion why the Niners won't be good in 2025.
Okay. That's such a fair question.
Yeah.
I think they're a bad team. And I don't think I have to justify that. They're 6-10. I don't see why they're going to be any better next season. They're going to have, I think, the same quarterback. They're going to have a crummy offensive line. They're not going to be able to stop the run. They're going to have the same coach who can't coach the second half. The only thing I see that can help them is their schedule will be easier. But I don't think they're going to be a better team. I don't see where it's going to come from.
Yeah. Yeah, the schedule might be easier, but that won't make them better.
No. Now,
yeah,
it's true. McCaffrey is going to come back. But who's he going to be? Mm-hmm. Would you bet your mortgage on the fact that he's going to be that great player who used to be? No. Trent Williams is going to come back. Who's he going to be? And I'll tell you one else. Ayuk. He had some serious injuries. Who knows who he's going to be? He used to make these beautiful cuts and leave people behind. I wouldn't bet the mortgage. I'm not saying he can't do it, but he needs to prove he can do it. So no, I see many shadows, and shadows are doubts, shadows of doubts over this team. I don't see why they'll be better. And in addition, I've lost confidence in John Lynch.
Why?
Because he mangled the offseason.
Yeah. The
team never stood a chance because of what happened in the offseason.
Yeah. And it wasn't just who they drafted, who they signed. It was the extensions, the holdouts, the drama, all of it. It felt like amateur hour.
Yeah. And letting Ayuk take over the team.
Yeah.
And having this thing, what's Ayuk going to do today? Who's he going to talk to? Who's he going to shake hands with? What color shorts is he going to wear? You don't have a training camp like that. You settle it fast. You become the team leader. You establish your standards. You establish your tone and your priorities. And Lynch whiffed. Again, he was a great, strong safety. It doesn't make him a strong man.
It was funny. He was on the radio the other day saying he's looking into the root causes for this disappointing season, and they can't just blame injuries. Dude, look in the mirror. Root causes.
We've been, yeah. So what are the root causes?
Yeah, look in the mirror. You're one of them. Jay Garza's been a member for 36 months. Jay says, trade Kyle, trade Brock. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year, Cones.
Thank you, Jay. Iggy, who interviewed him when he said about the root causes?
I don't know. It was on KNBR. Whoever was doing the show Thursday morning, Friday morning.
Might have been Murph.
Yeah, might have been Murph.
Might have been Murph. Murph is a dear friend of our family. I don't get up that early to listen. I don't listen to sports radio. But I mean, a fair follow-up would be, what are the root causes?
Yeah.
I don't. It's what I would have done. But KNBR is the rights holder, and you really, on that station and on sports, NBC Sports Bay Area, you can't really push them too hard because they're the rights holders, and I understand that. And Murph, if you're watching, Happy New Year to you and Candace, and I love you.
Dave Barclay says Dobbs and company beat Arizona. Dobbs better than Purdy. # trade Lyle Shanahan. Well, thank you, Dave. All right, Dad. That's been one Mondo Cohn Zone. Probably our best. Thank you very much, Dad. I love you.
I love you, Iggy. And everybody have a happy and a safe New Year's Eve. Safe. And thank you so much for watching Iggy with all of his podcasts, or whatever they call these things, this year. And I hope he does even better in 2025.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, everyone.